In the beginning, the heavens were young. The earth still whispered secrets older than time. There reigned a god whose name carried both awe and fear. Zeus, lord of the skies, master of thunder, king of Olympus. His hand commanded storms. His voice shook mountains. His gaze carried the weight of eternity itself. To mortals, he was guardian of order. To the gods, he was an unchallenged ruler. Yet even in Olympus, where golden light never fades, shadows creep quietly. From Delphi's temple, the oracle spoke. Words fell like drops of fire. A prophecy was born. A curse, veiled in mystery. A threat reaching beyond thunder, beyond lightning, beyond Zeus's throne. And so, the story begins. Not with swords or war, but with a whisper carried by the wind. A whisper that dared to challenge the king of the skies. This is the tale of Zeus and the oracle's curse. High above the mortal world, where the air grows thin and light turns golden, there rests a palace unseen by human eyes. Its towers gleam with eternal brilliance, and its halls echo not with footsteps, but with the timeless hum of divine presence. This was Olympus, the dwelling place of the gods, a realm of beauty and power suspended between sky and eternity. At its center stood a throne, vast and radiant, carved from stone older than the earth itself. Upon that throne sat Zeus, ruler of gods and mortals alike. To describe him was to describe the storm majestic, unpredictable, and alive with boundless force. His eyes shone with the brilliance of lightning. His voice rumbled with the weight of distant thunder. He was more than a king. He was the very rhythm of the heavens. The throne of Olympus was not merely a seat of power. It was a symbol, a reminder of the battles fought long ago, when titans ruled and chaos threatened to swallow the world. Zeus had claimed it through strength, yes, but also through wisdom, alliances, and a vision of order that would outlast the tempests of time. Each god who entered his court felt the authority that radiated from that throne, as if Olympus itself bowed in recognition. Mortals often imagined Zeus as distant, unreachable, gazing down from the clouds with cold indifference. Yet in truth, he was deeply attentive to the balance of the world. Each rainfall, each harvest, each oath sworn in his name, these were threads he carefully wove into the great fabric of existence. His power was not only in thunderbolts hurled across the sky, but in the unseen order that kept chaos at bay. And yet power comes with weight. Even the king of the gods felt it pressing upon his shoulders. For every blessing he granted, another petition arrived. For every storm he calmed, another storm rose. To be Zeus was to carry the endless voices of mortals and immortals alike, all crying out for attention, for favor, for justice. Still, in those moments of stillness, when the skies stretched clear and Olympus shone in tranquil glory, Zeus could almost forget the burdens of rule. He would look out from his throne, past the golden gates, across the heavens, and watch the world below. Rivers glittered like silver threads, mountains stood like sentinels, and seas shimmered with promise. To him, it was not simply creation, it was family, fragile and precious, requiring both firmness and care. Beside him often stood Hera, his queen, whose presence steadied the throne. She embodied both majesty and wisdom, a counterbalance to Zeus's thunderous will. Together, they had shaped the destiny of gods and mortals. But as with all rulers, shadows lingered at the edges of their light. For where there is power, there is also uncertainty. Though none dared question Zeus to his face, whispers sometimes drifted through Olympus. Whispers of pride, of choices made in haste, of anger that burned too brightly. The gods adored his strength, yet some wondered if strength alone was enough to guide eternity. These whispers never reached his ears directly, but the throne of Olympus, for all its brilliance, could not silence doubt forever. Still, on this day, Zeus sat in confidence. His scepter gleamed at his side, and the crown of storms rested upon his brow. Around him, the other gods gathered, Apollo radiant as the sun, Athena sharp with wisdom, Hermes quick with laughter and words. Each honored him, each acknowledged his rule. And in that gathering, Olympus itself seemed secure, unshakable, eternal. But eternity, is never so simple. Just as a sky can shift from calm to storm in the space of a heartbeat, so too can certainty tremble beneath the weight of prophecy. Even as Zeus basked in the glow of Olympus's splendor, far below, in the shadowed temple of Delphi, a voice was rising. The oracle's words had yet to reach him, but their echo had already begun its journey. The throne of Olympus gleamed that day, radiant in all its majesty. Yet unseen to the eyes of the gods, a shadow traced its outline. Not a shadow of war or rebellion, but of destiny itself. A whisper woven into the fabric of time, moving slowly toward the king of the skies. For now, Zeus remained unchallenged. He sat upon the throne as he always had, proud, resolute, and wrapped in the power of storms. But deep within the silence between thunderclaps, a story was stirring. A story that would soon remind even the mightiest ruler that no throne, no crown, no thunderbolt could remain untouched by fate. And so, the throne of Olympus stood tall, a beacon above the world. Yet already, the oracle's curse was waiting patient as the earth, steady as the stars, ready to test the heart of a god. Far below Olympus, beyond the bright clouds and golden peaks, there stood a temple older than kings. Its pillars reached for the heavens, worn smooth by centuries of wind and prayer. This was Delphi, the heart of prophecy, where mortals and gods met in whispers and riddles. Travelers came from distant lands, their hearts heavy with questions about fate and future. Kings brought gold, merchants offered spices, warriors laid down their swords before the sacred stone. All came seeking the same gift, truth before it unfolded, a glimpse into the weave of destiny. The temple air was thick with incense, sweet and ancient, curling like unseen hands toward the inner chamber. There, seated upon a sacred tripod carved with forgotten symbols, the oracle waited. She was mortal in body, but not in spirit. Her voice a vessel for something far beyond time. When she spoke, it was not she who spoke, it was Apollo, god of light and prophecy, breathing through her. Her eyes often clouded, her tone trembled, and her words fell like fragments of dream. Yet people listened. They always listened. On this day, the silence broke with a whisper, soft, almost fragile, yet destined to echo across eternity. "The King of Thunder sits upon his throne," the oracle murmured, voice distant as starlight. "Yet one shall come, unseen and unlooked for, who will see beyond his storm, and in that vision lies the power to unseat him." The priests exchanged anxious glances. These were not words to be spoken lightly, but no one dared silence the oracle. Her words were not hers to command. Once spoken, they belonged to fate. The prophecy spread quickly, first among the temple attendants, then among travelers, then across lands and seas. In taverns and markets, whispers grew. Some believed a mortal child would rise. Others feared a titan stirring. Some whispered of betrayal among the gods. The oracle's curse was never clear. It unsettled hearts, provoked questions, and left the boldest uneasy. Even the oracle herself felt the weight of what she had said. She knew that even the greatest thrones tremble when destiny stirs. And this throne was not of men, it was Zeus's, ruler of gods and mortals alike. High above, Olympus remained serene, untouched by mortal chatter for now. But the whisper had already begun its journey. Like a seed carried on the wind, it was drifting toward the ears of the one it was meant for. The prophecy was not born from hatred. It was not rebellion. It was truth wrapped in riddle, a warning, perhaps a lesson. But meaning is rarely clear before it is too late. That night, beneath the silver glow of the moon, the oracle lay awake. The words echoed in her thoughts. "The one who sees beyond the thunder. Who could it be? A mortal with wisdom beyond fear? A god with vision beyond power? Or something else, unnamed, waiting beyond the horizon of destiny?" She had no answer. Her task was to speak, not to know. The curse, if it was a curse, had been born. It would now find its path through gods and mortals alike. In the distance, thunder rumbled softly, though the skies above Delphi were clear. Some called it coincidence. Others felt Zeus stirring, restless, sensing a storm he could not yet see. And so, The whisper began its journey, from temple to traveler, from mortal to immortal. A whisper that dared to question the unshakable. A whisper that dared to reach Olympus. Prophecy is not bound by stone or sky. It lingers, it spreads, it waits. And now, the fate of the king of the skies was no longer written in thunder alone. The throne of Olympus was strong, carved from eternity itself. Yet even the firmest stone may tremble when shadow touches light. The prophecy did not reach Zeus in thunder. It came as a whisper, carried upward by mortal voices. Fragments drifted to him like scattered clouds, impossible to ignore. At first, he dismissed them. What threat could challenge the one who held lightning in his hand? He had faced titans, giants, and storms of chaos. Each had bent beneath his might, but the words lingered like hawks circling the mountains. Asterisk. One shall come, unseen and unlooked for, who will see beyond his storm. Asterisk. Zeus's gaze often turned to the horizon. He watched the world below with a restlessness he could not name. Rivers flowed, harvests ripened, prayers rose into the skies. All seemed well, yet the prophecy gnawed at him. What did it mean to see beyond the storm? A mortal with wisdom beyond power? A god with vision sharper than lightning? Or an enemy cloaked in silence, waiting unseen? Zeus's unease showed not in rage, but in silence. He sat upon the throne for hours, lost in thought. The other gods noticed, though none dared to ask. Even the winds hushed when he brooded. His thoughts turned often to the past. He remembered Cronus, his father, who devoured his children. He remembered the war that ended an age of fear. Was this prophecy a mirror of that old doom? Would his own reign fall to child, stranger, or kin? Doubt entered the house of a king and stayed. Zeus studied the loyalty of those around him. Athena's piercing wisdom, Apollo's radiant certainty, Hermes' restless wit. Could the prophecy hide among them, or would it rise from beyond Olympus itself? Even Hera, his queen, noticed his unease. She asked him gently what troubled his heart. He smiled faintly, masking fear with pride. But Hera, wise and steady, saw the truth. The king of the skies had begun to fear. Fear weighed on him like invisible chains. Storms sharpened without cause. Lightning split cloudless nights. Winds howled across seas unbidden. Mortals hurried to sacrifice, puzzled and afraid. But their deeds were not the cause. It was Zeus himself, restless on Olympus. One evening, as the sun sank in fire, Zeus walked alone. His steps echoed through empty marble courts. He lifted his gaze to the stars above. Their patterns held steady, untouched by prophecy. Yet even they did not soothe him. For the first time, Zeus questioned his power. Was thunder alone enough to rule forever? Could storms keep a throne eternal? Or must they give way to something unseen and enduring? The oracle's whisper was unclear. Yet it had pierced him. It planted doubt. No titan, no war, no blade had ever sown. The king of the skies stood tall. Yet within, a storm began. A storm without rain or thunder. A storm of silence, of questions, of fate's echo. Olympus gleamed as it always had. The gods laughed. Mortals prayed. The world turned. But behind golden gates, Zeus carried a hidden weight. Heavier than mountains, heavier than thunderbolts. The weight of unease. And it was only the beginning. Olympus shone with eternal light. Its gardens bloomed in endless spring. The air shimmered with divine presence. Yet even here, unease began to spread. The prophecy's whisper had moved beyond Zeus. It stirred the hearts of other gods. Athena saw the change in her father's eyes. Apollo searched the winds for meaning, but found only shadows. Hermes heard rumors on mortal tongues and carried them upward. Hera felt what Zeus tried to hide his unrest. One by one, the gods sensed the same truth. The king of the skies was troubled. So, a council was called. In the great hall, divine light filled the chamber. Marble columns rose like mountains, crowned in gold. Every seat shone with power and presence. Poseidon of the seas, Athena of wisdom, Apollo of the Sunday, Artemis the huntress, Hermes the swift, Hephaestus the forge master. Demeter the Nourisher, and many more. Their voices rose and fell like waves. Questions echoed through the chamber, but Zeus sat silent upon his throne. His hands rested on arms carved with storms. His gaze swept across the gathering. He felt their concern, their questions, their fear. Finally, Athena rose. Her voice rang clear as truth itself. Father, you sit in silence while unease spreads. If a shadow looms, we must face it together. The hall grew quiet. Even the flames leaned closer to listen. Zeus lifted his gaze at last. The oracle of Delphi has spoken. A prophecy, veiled in shadow. It speaks of one who shall rise unseen, one who will see beyond my storm. A murmur rippled through the gods. The words hung heavy in the air. Poseidon rumbled like the sea. Is this threat mortal or divine? Do we call it enemy or kin? Zeus shook his head. The prophecy names no face, no form. Only that one shall rise. Hermes leaned forward, eyes glinting. Perhaps it is subtlety we must fear, not strength. The whisper of shadow may outmatch the clash of storms. Apollo strummed his lyre softly. I search the sun and stars, but they show little. Yet vision may unravel thunder. Sight may overcome power. Hera rose, her presence commanding. Prophecy is only a thread if we choose to weave it. Do not let a whisper undo your reign. But Zeus could not dismiss it. He knew prophecy carried the weight of fate. The gods debated long. Some urged caution, some vigilance, some action. Should they search the mortal world for signs? Should they test one another for hidden treachery? Should they prepare for a war unseen? Yet no answer came. The council ended as it began with unease. The gods departed, carrying the prophecy within. Athena with thought, Apollo with troubled song, Hermes with restless wonder, Hera with guarded strength, and Zeus, still upon his throne, sat in silence. Outside, Olympus gleamed as always. The skies stretched endless and blue. The world below moved in steady rhythm. But the golden halls held an invisible shadow. The prophecy had been spoken. It could not be unsaid. It could not be forgotten. And though none yet understood its shape, all felt the truth. Something was coming. Something beyond storms. Something beyond the king of the skies himself. The seeds of fate had been planted, and even the gods could not uproot them. Far below Olympus stood the sacred temple of Delphi. Its stones had heard countless prayers. The winds that curled through its columns carried voices not their own. Here, the oracle spoke words that bent kingdoms. Mortals traveled from distant lands to kneel before her. Kings asked of war and peace. Farmers asked of rain and harvest. Lovers asked of faith and fate. The oracle gave answers veiled in riddles. She was not the source, but the vessel. Her visions flowed from Apollo and the threads of fate. It was here the prophecy had been spoken. The day began like any other. The air shimmered with heat. The temple crowded with supplicants. The oracle took her seat and trembled. Her eyes clouded with shadow. Her voice rang like thunder hidden in song. One shall rise unseen, unlooked for, unnamed. One shall see beyond the storm, and the Lord of skies shall tremble. The chamber froze in silence. Priests dropped their pens. They had heard many prophecies, but none so bold. The oracle wept when her trance faded. She knew prophecy was no idle riddle. It was truth, not yet revealed. To speak of Zeus was to invite Olympus itself. Apollo descended in spirit to his priestess. His light bathed her, though none could see. You have spoken what was given, he said. But beware, not all truths are gifts. Some are burdens. The oracle bowed her head. They came as fire. What do they mean? Apollo's eyes burned like the Sunday. Meaning belongs to fate, not to me. But Zeus must know. The skies must prepare. The prophecy climbed upward through whispers and prayers. Mortals repeated it in markets and temples. Priests carried it to envoys, and envoys to kings. From kings it rose with offerings to the gods. And from the gods it reached Olympus. Yet the oracle held a secret. She had seen more than she spoke. In her trance, she glimpsed something beyond storms. Not a warrior, not a god, not thunder or fire. She saw eyes that shone with clarity, a hand extended in peace, not battle. She felt a truth that shook her. Perhaps power would not fall by force. Perhaps it would fall by vision. This she did not share. Not with priests. Not with Apollo. Not with Zeus. Some truths were too dangerous, too strange, too easily misunderstood. At night, she lay awake in silence. She wondered who the unseen one might be. A mortal child? A forgotten spirit? A god born of shadow? She wondered what it meant to see beyond the storm. But clarity did not come. Only silence. Deep and eternal. Even silence carries weight. The oracle chose caution. She preserved a truth not yet ready. Yet she knew her secret would not remain hidden forever. Prophecies always unfold. The words she spoke would ripple outward. Their waves would reach even the highest throne. Fate had been set into motion, and though she held part in silence, she could not stop it. Destiny, once spoken, does not sleep. It waits, it watches, and it moves, unseen. High upon Olympus, the air was lighter than silk, yet heavy with secrets. Marble halls gleamed in the sun, but beneath the beauty lay unease. The prophecy had reached the ears of the gods. It came not as one voice, but a chorus of whispers. A rumor here, a warning there, until none could ignore it. One shall rise unseen. The Lord of skies shall tremble. Hera was the first to speak openly. She stood by her golden throne, eyes sharp as a blade. Zeus, she said, your rule is not eternal. The oracle has spoken. Zeus listened, calm in face, though not in heart. Prophecies bend with the wind, he said. Truth is buried in shadow. Yet he remembered the prophecy of Cronus. His father had feared it, devoured his children, and still fallen. Zeus had risen because of a prophecy, and now one threatened him in turn. The gods gathered in council. Athena, steady and wise, warned them. Do not dismiss this lightly. Fate wastes no words. We must watch. Ares struck his spear on marble. Let them come. Who dares challenge Zeus? I will answer in battle. Athena's eyes cooled like moonlight. Bravery cannot cure blindness. A hidden foe cannot be struck. Seek wisdom first. Hermes leaned on his staff, his voice sly. Unseen could mean mortal or god. Perhaps one of us. Does that not chill you? The hall grew still at his words. Suspicion stirred like a shadow among them. Hestia spoke softly, keeper of the hearth. Perhaps it is not ruin but change. Storms pass. To tremble is not to fall. Her gentle words carried weight. But doubt still spread across Olympus. Gods glanced at one another with unease. Who could the unseen one be? Zeus ended the council with command. The throne does not quake at riddles. Watch, wait, and trust. No storm outlasts the sky. The gods dispersed, but whispers lingered like smoke. Hera lingered last, her voice low. You do not fear the words. Fear belongs to mortals, Zeus replied. But vigilance is ours. Hera studied him, her tone edged with warning. Remember, prophecy gave you the throne. Do not let it take it away. When she left, Zeus stood alone. He gazed at the horizon where storm clouds gathered. The oracle's words echoed within him, unseen, unnamed. Beyond the storm. For the first time in ages, Zeus felt uncertainty. Not anger, not pride, not defiance, but the rarest storm of all doubt. Far below Olympus, the mortal world moved with restless rhythm, yet whispers of the prophecy spread like wind through villages and towns. It began in Delphi, carried by pilgrims to their homes. One shall rise unseen. The Lord of skies shall tremble. Some repeated the words with awe, others with fear, others with hope. For mortals, Zeus trembling was more than myth, it was possibility. In markets, merchants spoke of it while weighing coins. In temples, priests wove it into their prayers. Children chanted the words as if they were a song. Rebels clung to the prophecy like a torch in darkness. Not all mortals loved Zeus. To some, he was guardian of justice. To others, he was distant, careless, his storms cruel. For them, the prophecy became more than mystery. It became a seed of rebellion, In a fishing village, an old man told it to his grandson. "The gods do not rule forever," he whispered. "Even the sky may falter." The boy's eyes widened, filled not with fear but wonder. In Corinth, a poet cried out the prophecy in the square. His words promised change and unseen power. Crowds gathered, some cheering, some doubting, none unmoved. Priests of Zeus thundered against it. "The king of gods does not tremble," they roared. To speak otherwise is betrayal. But their anger fanned the fire. For once, mortals tasted the thought of change. They could not forget it. The prophecy spread beyond Greece by ship and road. Traders whispered it in distant ports. Kings in far land grew uneasy. If Zeus could tremble, what ruler was safe? Still, no mortal knew who the unseen one might be. Some said, a hero, unborn. Others whispered of a forgotten spirit. A few claimed it was a hidden child of Zeus. The mystery entered their daily lives. Farmers looked at their children with wonder. Mothers told the words as bedtime tales. At night, many prayed in silence. Some begged for the prophecy to come true. Others prayed it would never unfold. In Delphi, the oracle watched pilgrims kneel. Her voice gave answers, but her heart was troubled. Her words had grown beyond her voice and her will. The prophecy became a mirror of mortal longing. It reflected hope, grief, and the hunger for freedom. Through that reflection, the prophecy grew stronger. For mortals, though fragile, carried belief, and belief could move mountains. As days passed, "One shall rise unseen" became more than prophecy. It became a banner, a fire, a dream. And though the path was hidden, its echo was reshaping their world. Far from Olympus, in a quiet valley, a secret stirred. It was not thunder or prophecy, but the cry of a newborn child. So small a sound, yet it carried the weight of fate. A mortal mother cradled her son in trembling arms. She knew little of gods, only stories told by firelight. Yet she felt this child was different. His eyes shimmered like storms, seeing beyond her face, into her soul. The father was absent, his name hidden in silence. Once, she had been visited by a presence cloaked in radiance. A fleeting union, a spark of divinity, left her with this child. She believed his bloodline touched Olympus itself. The village knew nothing of his origin. To them, he was only another infant of mortal life. Yet strange signs followed him wherever he went. Storms never struck their fields. Rains came when drought threatened. Animals gathered close, as if hearing a secret song. The mother swore to protect him. She remembered the prophecy. "One shall rise unseen." She wished him to be hers alone, not a tool of fate, but destiny, once spoken, does not sleep. As he grew, his question grew too. "Why do storms spare us?" he asked. "Why do the others say I am different?" "You are who you are meant to be," she whispered. Yet her eyes carried fear. Travelers sometimes looked twice at the boy. A wandering seer once whispered, "The unseen one walks among us." His mother silenced him, fearing Olympus might hear. The boy grew restless, tall, filled with quiet force. He dreamed of skies, of mountains higher than he had seen. At night, he dreamed of a throne wreathed in clouds. He did not know its meaning. In Olympus, the gods remained blind. Zeus gazed at horizons. Hera held her secrets. Athena sought wisdom. Hermes carried whispers. None saw the hidden child. Destiny cloaked him, shielding him from their gaze. But destiny cannot cloak forever. The prophecy stirred like a sleeping storm. The boy's life was its heartbeat. Each year brought him closer to revelation. Each breath a thread in fate's design. His mother prayed nightly, torn by love and fear. She prayed he would remain unseen, but also that if he must rise, he would rise with wisdom. She knew the prophecy was not only about trembling skies. It spoke of vision, of change, of more than storms. And so the child grew in silence, hidden in plain sight, wrapped in the oracle's words like an unseen cloak. The world did not yet know him. The gods did not yet see him. But fate did, and fate was waiting. High upon Olympus, the gods sensed a stirring. It was faint, like the first ripple across a calm lake. Yet it reached their immortal hearts. The prophecy had taken root among mortals and gods alike. Zeus sat upon his throne, lightning at his fingertips. No storm filled the skies, yet his gaze was restless. Hera watched in silence, her eyes sharp as daggers. Athena leaned upon her spear, calm and calculating. "Father," she said, "the prophecy spreads among mortals. They speak of an unseen one in markets and temples. They believe he will rise." Zeus clenched his jaw, thunder echoing in the hall. "Let them believe," he said. "No one rises above me." Poseidon chuckled, leaning on his trident. "The seas carry whispers too, brother," he said. "Some sailors already pray to this unseen one." Hera smiled coldly. "Perhaps it is not mortal. Perhaps it is one of us." The council erupted in murmurs. Demeter wondered if it meant renewal. Ares scorned it. Boasting strength was all that mattered. Hermes smirked, carrying secrets he would not share. Still, the oracle's words lingered. "One shall rise unseen. The Lord of skies shall tremble." Olympus stood divided in suspicion, not majesty. Each god wondered in silence. Could the unseen one already walk among them? Zeus raised his voice above the unrest. "If such a one exists, they will reveal themselves. And when they do, Olympus will decide their fate." His decree silenced the hall, but not their doubts. Far below, the hidden child lived in peace. Unaware Olympus debated his very existence. But the threads of fate tightened around him. Mortals whispered louder. Mortals prayed deeper. Belief itself became a storm. In distant lands, kings questioned their thrones. Warriors swore allegiance to the unseen one. Poets spoke his name, though it was unknown. The prophecy became more than words. It became a movement, and movements have power. The oracle sat alone, her vision heavy. She had spoken truth, but not its full shape. The curse of vision was never clarity, only fragments. She knew only this: the storm was gathering, and no hand, mortal or divine, could stop it. That night, thunder rolled across clear skies. Zeus stood alone, staring at the horizon. For the first time, he wondered, could the heavens themselves tremble? The storm had not yet broken, but it was coming, and all Olympus could feel its breath. The valley remained quiet, hidden from Olympus. Years passed, and the child stood between boyhood and manhood. His limbs were strong, his eyes shimmered with storms. Villagers called him by name, one given by his mother. To them, he was a son of earth, a youth like any other. Yet whispers of strangeness clung to him. When others tired, he endured. When others despaired, he lifted their hearts with a word. His mother watched with pride and dread. She saw the air bend subtly around him. Lightning lingered too long in the clouds above. Water rippled in perfect circles at his touch. He noticed too, though he spoke nothing. One evening by the river, he asked, "Mother, why do I dream of skies I've never seen?" She paused, heavy at heart. "Because the skies dream of you." The boy turned to the horizon. "Do the gods dream of me too?" She longed to lie, to shield him, but his gaze silenced her words. She placed her hand on his shoulder. "If they do, let them dream. Dreams are not chains." Still, the oracle's words haunted her. "One shall rise unseen. The Lord of skies shall tremble." Each day her son grew. The prophecy grew with him. Travelers spoke of rebellion and daring mortals. To villagers, these were distant tales. To the boy, they felt like echoes calling his name. At night, his dreams grew stronger. He saw mountains wreathed in clouds, golden halls, and a throne of lightning. He heard a whisper not his own. "Rise." He woke with trembling hands, as though holding power too great. One day, while tending fields, a storm rose. Lightning split the sky, thunder roared. Villagers fled, fearing destruction. The boy stood still. Without knowing why, he raised his hand. The lightning bent, weaving above him. Bowing, the storm broke apart in silence. The villagers stared, wide-eyed, fearful, reverent. One whispered, "The prophecy." Another knelt. Soon all followed. The boy cried, "No, I'm only myself." But their eyes no longer believed him. That night, his mother wept. She knew hiding was ending. The world had begun to see him. The gods would soon follow. On Olympus, Zeus stirred. He felt a faint pulse, like distant thunder. He rose, unsettled. The oracle closed her eyes, vision burning brighter. She saw a boy beneath storms, lightning in his hand. She saw mortals kneeling. She saw Olympus tremble. Yet the curse of vision gave no clarity. Would he bring ruin or renewal? She knew only that his power was awakening. The boy felt it too. Destiny pressed upon him like a cloak. He longed for a simple life. But something whispered his path could never stay small. The awakening had begun. And with it, the storm moved closer. On Olympus, the air grew heavy with unease. The golden halls echoed with whispers of prophecy. It was no longer a mortal tale, it had reached every god. Zeus sat upon his throne, sparks at his fingertips. Hera stood beside him, silent as a storm unbroken. The council gathered in the great hall of marble. Athena leaned on her spear, mind sharp with thought. Poseidon arrived, sea foam dripping from his trident. Apollo's golden light filled the room with unease. Artemis sat in shadows, bow resting across her lap. Ares folded his arms, muttering his impatience. Hermes lingered, sly smile hiding his secrets. The mortals whisper of him, Athena said. They kneel at his name, though they do not know it. They see him as hope. Zeus's jaw tightened. Hope is dangerous when it belongs to another. Poseidon chuckled deep as waves. They pray to the unseen one before braving storms. They believe his hand calms the waters, Ares scoffed. Mortals cling to anything. Give them battle and they'll pray to me. Hera's voice cut cold and sharp. You underestimate belief, Ares. Belief is fire, and fire spreads. Silence fell like a weight across the chamber. Apollo spoke, his words glowing like the stars. I have seen omens, a light rising from earth, brighter each night. Artemis frowned. And with light comes shadow. What if his rise means our fall? Hermes stepped forward with a half smile. Perhaps he is already among us. That is the trick of prophecy. It hides truth in riddles. Suspicion spread like smoke through the hall. Zeus rose, thunder in his voice. Enough. I will not be undone by whispers. If he exists, I will find him. And when I do, Olympus will decide his fate. But doubts remained, gnawing at immortal hearts. Far away, the boy grew stronger each day. His powers awakened, though he longed for peace. Yet destiny would not be denied. In her temple, the oracle trembled. She saw storms, thrones crumbling, skies breaking. She saw Zeus trembling not with rage, but with fear. Her curse was nearing its end. The gods left the hall, but each carried one thought. The unseen one was real. He was rising. And soon, Olympus would be tested. The world stirred with change. In kingdoms far and wide, rulers felt their crowns grow heavy. Whispers spread through markets, temples, and battlefields. The unseen one would rise. Mortals no longer spoke his name in fear. They spoke it with reverence, as if hope had taken form. Children told stories by firelight of a youth who ruled storms. Farmers prayed to him for rain. Sailors called on him to calm the seas. His legend grew like a tide, unstoppable. And far away the boy walked fields in silence. He longed only to belong. Yet destiny clung to him like thunderclouds to mountains. The oracle felt her visions deepen. Each night she saw lightning bending, thrones trembling. Yet she saw only fragments, never the whole. This was her cursed knowledge without clarity. On Olympus, unrest festered. Zeus paced, sparks dancing between his fingers. He felt a power not his own. Hera urged caution, though she carried little comfort. Athena sought wisdom in silence, watching mortals shift. Poseidon heard sailors pray to another hand. Ares boasted pride, yet felt tremors underfoot. The gods stood divided in unease. Some dreamed of an ally. Others feared the undoing of Olympus. Suspicion thickened like mist over the halls. Zeus felt the weight pressing on his throne. Meanwhile, mortals began to act. Leaders questioned their allegiance to Olympus. Soldiers raised banners of hope, not of gods. Songs were sung, prayers whispered. The fire of belief spread brighter each day. The boy felt it too. Dreams haunted him, skies, storms, a trembling throne. And always, the whisper returned. Rise, he woke trembling, sparks in his hands. His mother watched in silence, fearing the truth. She prayed he might choose his own path. The oracle whispered to the wind, "The storm is gathering." Her words held no hope, no malice, only truth. High above, Zeus stared at the horizon. Clouds gathered, though skies were once clear. It was not his storm. It was not his hand. For the first time, he felt doubt. The storm was no longer a whisper. It was a roar rising from earth to heaven. From mortal hearts to immortal thrones, the unseen one was awakening, and Olympus would soon face its greatest test.